Good morning, traders. Welcome to Beyond Profile. Today is February 22nd, the day after President's Day. Let's start out by looking at crude oil. Here it is. As we looked at it last week, said if we had a failure below the last balance area, we were going to go higher. All right. So from a week ago, we had a failure of a 3-month balance trading area, broke below it. There was no follow through. Mentioned last week getting long at the 85 area was a good swing position based on that there was no follow through to the downside. That was a rejection of the new lows, and at that point, once you have that evidence from the market, you need to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to sit on the sidelines or you're going to take the market back up to these unfair highs. And as I told you, we would see a probe outside of those prior pivot highs. Well, you can say, well, yeah, Rick, but we had the Libya news and all of that, the Iranian news. Yeah, but the point is that it worked the way that it was supposed to work. The news just helped propel it there a lot quicker than what we might have expected. But you can see here in this chart, 3 months of balance, broke down, no follow through, lows rejected, demand steps in, accumulation at the lows, and here we are, 94s, 95s. Actually, it's higher than that because I need to switch over to the April contract. But you get the idea, the concept of the lows to the highs played out in this chart relatively quickly, especially if you were a swing trader playing that position from the lows to the highs. All right. Here's the 30-year bond daily chart. You can see that too tried to break below a balance area last week. Friday, it looked like we were going to roll over, and obviously the news overseas is projecting this, back up into the prior balance area. So this too almost looks like a failure to go lower, looking like it wants to go back into the prior balance area. This one was in play for almost 2 months, where you had your unfair highs and your unfair lows. So this one would be back to the midpoint or the point of control from the last couple of months here, back at these 20s. We'll watch to see what that's going to do as far as the equity markets are concerned. This morning we're handed down a big gap down. Yesterday in the Globex session, the bonds traded higher, and the equity markets are lower. So this one here, if it holds back inside of the balance area, or if we find support in the equity markets and it looked like they're going to bounce off of these significant levels, which we'll look at in a few moments here, I would look for the bonds to return back to the downside here. You've got a couple high volume areas that are starting to be generated underneath us here. So, again, equity markets, if we do find some footing today, down at these key reference areas, then I would look for this to roll back to the downside, and we may see some of that short term here. Even let me look at it at pre-market, what we have going on here. So you have the Globex high. So we're auctioning inside of the value area. They're trying to establish their first initial balance here. So nothing really. I would watch, again, like I said, at the highs up here. Again, if we get some sort of a sign, look to see if they can put the initial balance in, and then look for, if we get range extension outside of it. If we don't, then I would look for, again, a pivot. And as we look at the equity markets here in a few moments, I'll show you what I mean. It'll be timing of take this short, take the equity markets long. Here's the S&P daily chart. You can see yesterday's trading action, and again, I'm running a 24-hour chart here. If you weren't running a 24-hour chart, we stopped right around the 1330 yesterday during the session. You can see what's happened here is we've shut down the gap, number one, which is at 2650 area, but we've bounced off of the value area high. This was a prior balance area that we were in for nearly 5 days, and we've held that area. We bounced off of it pre-market here, and actually doing a pretty good job of holding on to this. We would look at potentially the 30 area where we closed yesterday in the Globex session at around 11:30 a.m. to see if we get any bounce. And again, as far as the gap is concerned on the day session, it has not been filled yet. But depending upon where we open, we may be opening right to the gap here. We're currently trading 26 and a quarter, 26.50. So from a technical standpoint, we're going to be gapping. It looks like right into that gap down area from a day session standpoint. So we've got some significant areas underneath us here. Again, the gap fill for the regular session. We're at the top of the last value area high here at 1320s. 18 and a quarter would be a area of interest, which is that point of control right there. And then you have a naked one here on the daily at 15, looks like 16 and a half area. So And again, a lot of unrest that will dictate which direction we're really going to go today. You know, the Libyan news. We still got the Iranian news. Nothing. You know, if that starts to disrupt too, you know, we could be down considerable today. All of these areas will just get sliced right through. I mean, you have to be aware of where they're at, and when we come into them, whether or not we get a bounce out of those areas. Same thing with the Nasdaq. Let's look at that. Here's the Nasdaq. You can see the significant area in the overnight is 55s. This is the monthly developing point of control, which we've only got about 4 or 5 days left of trading if it were to hold on from the prior highs. We're nearly almost 40 some points, probably 45 points off of the highs here. And there again, that's why I'm saying we ought to be looking for retracements, you know, back up from this area. And again, I like the 55s only because of this being a huge area from the market. It's sort of the teeter-totter point between us continuing to bounce back up and work our way through some of these areas, or we collapse, we break down, and we come all the way back to, it looks like probably the 30 area. You've got a low volume divot there, plus you had the prior pivot highs here, which we actually broke out from in this market. So again, keep our powder dry today. You know, be on guard as the market could bounce either way here. Obviously, we're down a long ways from where we were when we left it on Friday. So, you know, some of the best shorting opportunities obviously occurred yesterday in the Globex session when they opened it up and moved it lower, and then even last night again when they reopened the markets, we've went considerably lower again. So this morning, if we hold some of these areas, I will look for the bounce out of these areas. All right, look for the bounce out and see if we can't get some sort of upward movement. But again, cautiously, stops will get crammed very tightly because I'm going to be in very protective mode if I take anything on the long side, only from the perspective of everything that's going on overseas. All right, a little blip, a little sneeze, and you know, we could be down 300 points in the Dow today. So keep that in mind. All right. So thank you, and we'll see you guys all in the room. Have a good trading day.